Welcome back, wrestling fans. Today, our guest is new Campbell Assistant Coach TJ Dudley. Uh, how's it going? I see you're kind of in the middle of between Brown and Campbell.
Yep. It's going real good. The move's been smooth. Um, it's happening right around the end of the year, so there's a lot of traffic, and so I'm right between that move, getting down from there to here, getting all my stuff moved in, and it's been good.
Yeah, I can imagine you don't want to be on 95 in these main roads during Memorial Day weekend.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. People are trying to get home to their families and spend that nice long 3-day weekend together. And here I am driving.
All right. So when there was opening at Campbell, what initially attracted you to the position?
So me and Scotty have been friends for a bit. It wasn't his first time. We got together a couple years back, and he offered me the position. And Jordan had just gotten into Brown, and I kind of wanted to see where things were going to go there and how things were going to look. And he's doing a great job there. But ultimately, I think I fit in a little bit better here. Um, they got some guys that I can help out a lot with. And the location's close to home. I'm from South Carolina, so 3 hours north of my parents' house and my brothers and sisters, and the opportunity here was just too good to pass up when he brought it back up here with I guess since last month.
Yeah, so you mentioned, one thing I wanted to ask about, usually when we get these assistant coaching hires, there's always some sort of little link or some pre-existing relationship, between
Yep.
coaches. So where do you and Scotty go back to?
So in 2022, um, was Todd Beckerman had stepped down at Brown. I was at Brown's after my first year. And so, with new coaches come new coaches. So, in that sort of light, me, Jesse Delgado, and Darius were still on staff, and coaches were reaching out and offering positions before, whoever was going to take the role took the role. They try to get the best guys off the staff. So, and I mean, we had a monster staff, so it's like all of us are getting calls from other places. And so Scotty had reached out back then, and I was training for the World Team Trials that year, actually, and I believe I got third that year at the Open, and then maybe fourth at the trials. But he offered me a place to stay for like a week. I stayed with him and his wife and kids, and I trained down at Campbell while simultaneously, looking at the job, looking at the area, the facilities, that kind of stuff. And it was just a good time. We became good friends. And, as a recruiter at Brown, I traveled often, and then we saw each other at different events and different competition events when Brown would come down south. So, that friendship just stayed it stayed good. And so they got an opening here, and he offered me the job back then, and unfortunately, I turned it down. I don't think I would change it if I went back, but he came back to a spot where he needed a coach, and I was kind of looking to move up. So where worlds met, that friendship just rekindled, and here we are.
And so talking to him, after your hiring was announced, one thing he said was the positive energy that you bring to the room and the team. Is that just kind of your normal personality, or is that something that
Yep.
you constantly want to do, when you step around the team?
It's a little bit of both. Um, I am just a very positive person. I like to call myself an optimistic realist. So I see things how they are, and like I can see the realistic how it can be. But then it's like I've seen old people overcome that, and I'm always ready to see somebody overcome the next thing that's that next block that's in their way. So I'm always happy about the possibility of what could be. And so that, along with wanting I think people train their best when they're feeling good, you know. I think you get the most out of something when somebody's enjoying something they're doing, you know. It's like, yeah, sometimes wrestling sucks, sometimes hard work sucks, but when you're enjoying getting up and doing that every day and bettering yourself, it makes it easier and it makes you want to do it more. And so it's always just been something in mind to like be positive about it. You know, even when I'm complaining, it's like, man, this sucks, but we're gonna do it, you know, let's go. You know. And so, you know, that brings everybody else up, and then them being up brings me up. And it's just I think it's a good chain reaction to have. So it is who I am, but it's also a little bit of effort that you have to put forward towards that too.
Nice. So you touched on it earlier. You're upper weight guy when you wrestled.
Yep.
So looking at the Campbell team, I imagine there's some good prospects you get to work with, or not even prospects, more so established very good wrestlers. You're going to get your hands
Absolutely.
on.
Absolutely. So some of the guys that which works out great, the same guys that Scotti wanted me to train with and work with the most 2 years ago when he offered me the job are still here. And so they're going into the last year. They're a little more developed, and they're like guys get tougher and more in their like found their foundation stronger when they're older. You know what I mean? You don't have too much of this up and down, too much faltering in their wrestling. So that's nice. They kind of know who they want to be, how their style wants to be. And now I just get to polish that a little bit. And they were good when I was here visiting. And now they're much better. You know, you got Tay, who All-American last year, at heavyweight, I mean, he's what heavyweight looks like now. You know, you got the fit body, you got a tall athletic dude, and those guys are at the top of the podium every year now. And then you got Levi, who was at, I want to say both the U.S. Open and the World Team Trials a couple years ago. Him and his brother Caleb Hopkins, they were like really, really, really good wrestlers that are just right there. You know, they just need a little bit extra, a little bit of push. Maybe in the guy in the room that can like help them look at things a little bit differently. You know. And so it's awesome that I'm getting the opportunity to work with these guys, and then even more guys we got coming in that I'm going to get to foster up from the beginning, you know, right from the get go, and see through their 5 years or 4 or 5 years, however many they want to do. But yeah, it's exciting to be able to work with um, levels of athletes of this caliber. Because I myself, I'm a guy that I like to wrestle. You know, I like to be in the room. I like to be on the mat. I'm not just yelling at you from the wall. We're scrapping. We're getting after it. And then that way we got that hands-on approach where I can show you every single thing that I want to how we can look at it differently, right?
And so to kind of build off of, one of the things you were saying, you're kind of coming from programs that are in different stages. Brown, was kind of
Yep.
building, and you're trying to focus on recruiting and get these young guys and develop them. Campbell here, you mentioned like Levi Hopkins just being right there, and
Yep.
Tay, wanting to get a couple steps higher on that podium this year. So is that anything different on your end when you have a team that's had their share of winning and has the experience that Campbell has?
A little bit. So when you're at Brown, you know, or any place that you're starting from the bottom, like building a new program, building something that can be added upon and what you want to flourish in the future, you got to start with the culture, right? You got to change the culture. You got to get the right guys that have the right attitudes through recruiting, and you got to build how you want it to be from the get go. Which is, I mean, it's difficult, but it's fun, you know, and you get to kind of experience what it means to really change a place. Here, it's a lot less of that. You know, at Brown, with recruiting, you're selling the build, you're selling the future. You want kids that are excited about what could happen. At Campbell, it's like what is happening. This is the culture. There's no culture problem that we have here that I have to manage or try and like change, right? And the kids that we're bringing in aren't kids that want to be a part of a build or that want to be a part of a culture change. These are kids that see what's happening here. They see the culture, they see the hard work, they see the want to, and they're here to do it. You know what I'm saying? They're here, they're surrounded by guys that are doing it, and they want to be one of those guys. And so now my everyday isn't like, it's not entirely different because, like I said, I'm a wrestling coach that likes to wrestle. So I like to leave it in the wrestling, and then, other coaches and the head coach kind of worry about that culture thing, but nobody's worrying about that here. All of us are getting better at wrestling, one day at a time, one step at a time. And we're getting guys that want to be good at wrestling, want to get better at wrestling, and want to win national titles, right?
Right.
And so, yeah,
So
it's a little bit different, but it's not at its core, no, but um, there are lots of parts that I'm worried about differently, right? I
mhm,
get to focus on my job a little bit differently than I do there.
that makes sense. So you talked about Brown. You wrestled at Nebraska. Who are some
Yep.
people over the years that, when you decided I want to be a collegiate coach, who are some role models that you said, I want to pattern myself after this guy. I want to, be the way this guy handles his athletes.
So my biggest role model would probably have to be um I mean, I guess is Mark Manning, that he's incredibly passionate about his guys. And I see it in a lot of coaches this way, but like Mark Manning's he's never gonna BS you, but he's gonna do everything to help you get where he believes you can be. Um and everybody has their like things they don't like, do and don't like about their coach, but one of the things I like the most about Coach Manning was just that he's there for you when you need anything. You need a workout at 9 o'clock at night. He's gonna figure out a way to get you there. You need a ride to the airport from the airport. He's there for you. And then I mean, I have other coaches too that I like. I mean, Brian Snyder's right there with him on my list of coaches that I want to model myself after. Because I mean, Brian Snyder's a winner, and that's what he teaches. He teaches how to win in a different way than just wrestling technique. I don't know how to explain it in words, but me and him, we had our ups and downs, but by my last 2 years, we were just well-oiled machine, and I got the most out of every workout, out of every individual, out of even when I was hurt. Sometimes it was like I don't know what I could do, and then I get in the room with him, and we get to work, and I leave the day feeling like, man, I got better today. And I want to be a coach that when a guy comes in with me, he feels like he leaves every single day this much better, that much better. If you can leave, if an athlete can leave the room with me and say, I got better today, then I'm doing my job. And those two
Nice.
guys kind of inspire me to want to do that.
Mhm. For sure. So you mentioned being from South Carolina.
Yep.
I've always been curious following your career, high school into college. There are just, quite frankly, not that many guys from South Carolina that, make it to the Big Ten, much less, multiple time All-American. High school, you
Yeah.
did the thing, Super 32, a lot of NHSCA success.
Yeah.
What did you do as a young high school wrestler, for training and to get to that type of level where you can win those tournaments, place highly at them, catch the eye of a Big Ten school?
Right. So naturally, I think I was really gifted with like I credit my success to a few things. One, natural ability. I have an insane amount of body awareness. So wrestling just kind of fit for me really well. I wasn't good at football or basketball or like another sport. So I'm not just like a freak athlete, but my body awareness and mat awareness were really high, even from like day one or day two. And then my number one thing was that I was a sponge. I went to lots of other camps. I did summer training as much as I could. I started late. I started in eighth grade. Um, and then I had three different coaches, three different head coaches in high school. So the guy that got me into wrestling left my sophomore year, and then I had another coach junior year, and then a different coach senior year. And then those last two coaches weren't really, they knew themselves, they weren't all that technically savvy, but they knew people that were. So they brought in people all the time that they could. My junior year, he knew Chris Bono. And this was right before Chris Bono had gotten into like collegiate coaching at SCSU. And so he was staying with my coach and then running practice, a couple days a week every now and then. So I got to work with him. And then I go to nightclub and learn from that person. And I wasn't ever a kid that was like, well, what about this? What about that? It was like I tried it every which way possible that somebody taught me until I found like how it worked for me. And so being a sponge allowed me to like trial and error things over and over and over and over and over again until I felt like it worked against anyone. And then that coupled with my obvious body awareness and physique, it was like, I don't know, it felt like a surefire way to success for me. But, there's matchups that just couldn't be overcome.
Sure. So, looking back at your career as I was preparing for this, your freshman year is the only year you did an AA. I think if you just looked at it, you would say, okay, you must have grown a lot between that first and second year, and maybe you did in some respects, but at the same time, if you really drilled down on it, it was like you had a really, really good regular season, and
Mm-hmm.
then Big Ten tournament 0-2, 1-2 at nationals. After the
Yep.
fact, what did you learn from? Well, maybe it was just as simple as an injury at the wrong time, but kind of the way the freshman year ended.
Yeah. So my freshman year, I always tell my guys it was a lack of focus. I could have, at least I believe wholeheartedly I could have been a 4-time All-American. I just had no focus my freshman year. I wasn't doing the right things. I wasn't living the right life. I was just really like I really wanted to win and I really hated to lose, But at the time, I wasn't sacrificing the necessary things that I needed to in my life to achieve success. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like a work hard, play hard kind of situation. But it was like, during wrestling season, crack down. But I wasn't cracking down. And then when you're burning the candle at both ends like that, by the end of the year, you're exhausted. It's a long wrestling season. You're tired. You don't really want to do it, and that's no excuse, but it makes the fight harder. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And I remember vividly thinking after, I mean, it was like I didn't know the wrestling season was that long and that hard. So I went 0-2 in Big Tens. I might have went 0-3, 1-3 or something like even worse. But I remember like I was ranked whatever, and I was like, okay, my season's over, and I like kind of did like a, oh wow, all right, I got to change something up for next year, And then we got the call like a wild card, and I'm like, oh well, I wasn't even thinking that was possible, and now I'm like, oh man, all right, I get an opportunity, I get to, but it was like, it's a little too far, too late, and so that was something I recognized maybe the day after the national tournament, and I made an immediate change in my focus. And I still have lapses. I wasn't nowhere near perfect my sophomore or junior year. You can see lots of losses to kids that on paper I never should have lost to, right? And so once I really learned how to tighten my focus during wrestling season and like have the balance that I needed, you could see my success rate go up every year. Kind of like I was saying about the seniors here, where it's like they have that foundation. They know what works for them. They know what's gonna impede their training, right? They know what's gonna affect wrestling. Where you're dealing with a freshman or sophomore, they may be staying up till 2 a.m. playing video games or something, and then not know that just affected 2 or 3 days of training for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like sleep's important. Where it's like it may not. Snyder used to tell us where you can maybe survive one day off with no sleep, but that second day after it hurts. you're tired, you're groggier, you're slower, you're less reactive. And it's true. That first day it may not affect you as much, but the second day it hits you way harder.
Yeah. So, um, also back with your career, three-time All-American, made the NCAA finals as a junior. I'm sure you
Yep.
have, the aspirations of, getting back there, winning it all. And then as a senior, you fall in the quarters to a young Bo Nickel. Um, I
Yeah.
imagine I imagine now that you have some time and perspective, that's probably something you're pretty proud of because you wrestled back from the quarters to get to third place. You beat guys like
Mm-hmm.
Nate Jackson, Sammy Brooks, Nolan Boyd. Like those are some
Yep.
some legit guys that you beat
Yeah, they're
after
tough.
after probably a crushing loss. Is that something that you're very proud of at this point?
Um, yeah. When you when I look back on it objectively, yes. Because as a coach, as an athlete, once you've done it once, done it twice, the third time you want to be higher on the podium. And
Mhm.
so you're like, this isn't what I want. It wasn't like this is just what I needed to do, and I just kind of did it. But then like looking back at like as a coach, you're like, man, that was something I did something that was really hard, you know, and I did it against really tough people. And it's like, man, yeah, I'm proud of myself for sticking it out because you lose in all you're thinking about in college is national title, national title, national title. And then you lose that. Now you got 4 matches just to get third, you know?
Mhm.
So it's like you want to be done, but you stick it out, you gut it through, you get you get your next goal, which is, unfortunately like bronze, but yeah, I'm proud of the accomplishment. But at the same time, that taste never really leaves your mouth where you're like, you think what you could have done a little bit differently. Or like, how did I, me and Bo were wrestling a good match. He got me in the cradle, like a reversal from bottom or something. And that was the only time in my college career I'd been pinned. So it's like, like
Mhm.
why then? You know?
Yeah.
So, and I was, my my great equalizer was top, so it's like no matter how out of the match I am, I always think I have a chance if I can get on top. But a pinfall is not something that you get to come back from. It's over. And then you're dealt with the shock after, Some guys you're losing the match, you're kind of looking over at the time, you're like, all right, I got some time, it's counting down. You get stuck, it's a different story. And then yeah, you have to kind of bite the bullet, and then I did, and I fought back. So objectively, yeah, I'm proud of myself, and I'm happy I had the career I did. Subjectively, it's like,
Yeah. I understand.
I want a
Uh,
little more.
it makes a lot of
And
sense. So, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry to
I
interrupt.
was saying I think stuff like that's good because it kind of drives you in other things in life, where like it's driving my coaching, right? And I have a perspective that I don't want to burden these guys with, but I want to help. I want to make sure that they can understand without having to go through it. And then it's like, hey, what can I do so that I become number one at this, at that, at this, right? So I think it's good. It's good and it's bad.
Yeah. And so you mentioned your senior level career. When did
Yep.
you decide to, call it quits, or what made you come to that conclusion?
Um. So I haven't officially yet. But what slowed me down has been um kind of an understanding. I went through a I can do it all alone phase,
Hmm.
where it's like I don't need the training partners, I don't need the facilities, I can just do it. I can manage it my own. And I obviously came to a strong realization that you can't, right? Um Burroughs coined the term forever ago, or not coined it maybe, but resurfaced it, that iron sharpens iron. And that's true, especially in our sport, where most college level athletes, and I don't mean to say this in a braggy way, but I can wrestle most college level athletes without much trouble. And so being at a school where we're doing the build and my main workout partners are like incoming freshmen or high schoolers is a little bit harder than when I'm at Nebraska and I'm banging with all Americans every day. It's a different level of training that I'm getting out. So now I have to increase it was like I have to increase my training load on top of my already intense workload of like a job.
Mhm.
And again, in a different sense, I'm burning the candle at both ends, doing the same thing a different way than the
Yeah.
freshman year. You know what I mean? I'm working my butt off, and then I'm trying to train my butt off, and then I'm trying to coach other people. And you can't be selfish when you're a coach, right? You're selfless because it's about these guys. So then I'm sacrificing my training um, a little bit. I'm working all the time, and I'm trying to get a bunch of kids that I care about more better. So then it's like you can just see the decline in athletic performance, right? And it's like, when do you hang up the shoes? But and not saying I'm gonna make some big return, but I think Campbell it was another opportunity where it's like, okay, I got a more streamlined job description, a more streamlined work hours, what I'm doing, what I'm not doing. I'm not building a program, so I got a little bit more, not free time, but time to like train.
Mhm.
And now I got partners that are on the podium, partners that are right there to being on the podium. Um, where it's a totally different atmosphere, where I can maybe, if I want to do another year, if I want to do another cycle. I'm getting up there in age. I just turned 30, but I mean, the best guys up until this year, the best guys in the world were 35,
Mhm.
30, 34, 35. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, I haven't officially, put my shoes in the mat, and I don't think I'll ever do that. So don't worry about it. But I just mean the act of it. But retiring, it's coming. It's just not permanent for me yet.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool to pay attention to in the coming months and years to see how that goes. So as I'm wrapping up, kind of changing gears a little bit, you mentioned you know not being great at basketball, football. Do you have any other sports outside of wrestling that you get into?
So I'm really good at like kind of obscure sports. So
Okay.
like handball, frisbee. Um, I can get on the ping pong table a little bit, stuff that like
I mean, I imagine, those are types of things that, you can play handball before practice, or,
right,
maybe you
that
go
kind of
go
stuff.
somewhere with the guys and beat them
You're
in
sitting
ping
around
pong.
waiting to do some ping pong, exactly.
Yeah.
And those are sports I think like I can out hustle most people.
Mhm.
And I have I have a I don't want to lose factor where I can kind of push a little bit more than it looks like. Like I'll be laying on the mat breathing, but we get the ball, I'm up and I'm sprinting to the other end. And they're like, "Oh, he's tired." And I'm like, "I may be tired, but I'm gonna keep going." But like I feel like I can't do that in basketball. It's hand-eye coordination. I'm missing shots. I can't do that in football. I got to catch the football this guy threw. I'm not catching it, or I got to be coordinated on my feet enough to tackle somebody. Where it's like you give me a sport where I don't have to kind of rely on that stuff. I'm killing it.
Nice. All right. Well, that's all that I have for you. Is there anything else that you want people to know about, yourself, Campbell Wrestling, anything in general?
No, no, I think we covered most of it. So I'm pumped about the future here at Campbell. I think we got a good thing going, and it's only going to get better.
All right. Well, we will make sure to pay attention this year and the coming years for Campbell Wrestling. And thanks for
Yes,
joining
sir.
us, TJ Dudley.
Of course. Thank you.